The night was cold, silent, and heavy with rain. The forest river ran fast under the pale moonlight, swollen with the storm's anger. Ethan Cole, a quiet man who lived alone in a small wooden cabin nearby, was sitting by his window watching the rain hit the glass. He liked nights like this, dark, calm, and away from the noise of the world. But tonight felt different. At first it was a faint sound, barely there. Something between a cry and a strange metallic hum. It came again, soft, distant, and carried by the wind. Ethan frowned and turned down the radio. The sound didn't stop. It grew sharper, almost calling to him. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out into the storm. Rain soaked his clothes instantly, and the muddy ground pulled at his boots. The sound grew louder as he walked toward the river. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal either. It had rhythm, like a machine trying to breathe. The beam of his flashlight moved over the rushing water. Then he saw it, a faint blue glow under the surface drifting between the waves. His heart skipped. He climbed down the slippery rocks and reached out. The water was freezing. When his hand touched the glowing thing, it pulsed like it felt him. Ethan pulled hard, dragging it out of the current. It was a small metallic pod, smooth and silver, no bigger than a backpack. Strange symbols ran along its side, shifting and glowing, and from inside, it cried. Ethan's hands trembled. He pressed a latch and the pod opened with a hiss. Inside was a small baby, wrapped in a strange cloth that shimmered like liquid light. The baby's skin was pale blue and its eyes were closed tight. For a second, Ethan forgot to breathe. It was impossible. Yet it was right there in front of him, something not of this world. Then the baby coughed. A weak sound, almost human. Instinct took over. Ethan wrapped the baby in his coat and held it close, shielding it from the rain. The pod's glow faded and the hum stopped. He looked around. The forest was silent now, as if watching him. Only the river whispered. Ethan hurried back to his cabin. Inside he lit the fireplace and laid the baby on a blanket near the warmth. It looked so small, so fragile. He gently wiped its face with a towel. Its skin shimmered faintly under the firelight. "What are you?" he whispered, not expecting an answer. The baby stirred, opening its eyes for the first time. They were bright, too bright. Not blue, not green, something in between, like starlight trapped in glass. When it looked at him, he felt a sharp pulse in his head. Images flashed in his mind, stars swirling, a burning planet. Two shadowy figures screaming in a language he didn't know. He gasped and dropped to his knees. The baby reached for his hand and the vision stopped. Ethan stared at her, breathing hard. "You're not human," the baby smiled, a small, innocent smile. Outside, the storm grew louder. Thunder shook the cabin, and for a second he thought he heard something else in the sky, a deep, distant hum, like engines, like ships. He looked through the window. Just darkness. Still the feeling wouldn't leave him. Something was out there, watching, searching. He turned back to the child who now slept peacefully beside the fire. He should call someone, the police, anyone, but he couldn't. Some instinct told him not to. Whoever this baby was, she wasn't meant to be found. Not yet. Ethan sat beside her, the crackle of fire filling the silence. Rain tapped softly against the window. He looked at the glowing marks on the pod and whispered, "Where did you come from?" A faint echo answered in his mind, a voice not his own, whispering one word. Home. Ethan froze. His heart pounded. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky, revealing a shadow, two bright lights hovering above the forest. He didn't know it yet, but they were already on their way. The next morning, sunlight crept through the forest mist. The storm had passed, leaving behind a soft silence that felt almost peaceful. Ethan Cole opened his eyes slowly, his head still heavy from the strange dreams that had haunted him all night. Stars, fire, and two glowing figures whispering a name he couldn't remember. He turned to the small basket beside the fireplace. The baby was still there, sleeping quietly, her blue-tinted skin glowing faintly under the morning light. For a moment, Ethan thought it might all have been a dream, but then the metallic pod on his table blinked once, its strange symbols shifting again like living words. Ethan rubbed his face and muttered, "What have I brought into my home?" He fed the baby with warm milk, surprised that she drank eagerly. But something else worried him. She had changed. Just last night she looked like a newborn. Now she seemed older. Her limbs longer, her face sharper, her eyes brighter. It was impossible, but it was happening before his eyes. Throughout the day, odd things began to happen. The radio turned on by itself, whispering static that almost sounded like a voice. The lights flickered even though there was no storm. His phone screen filled with symbols he didn't understand. Each time he glanced at the baby, she smiled, as if she knew what was happening. When evening came, Ethan heard a low hum coming from outside. He stepped out onto the porch. The forest was wrapped in a strange silver mist. Above the trees, two faint lights floated silently, too still to be aircraft, too quiet to be human-made. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. The same hum from last night filled the air again, steady and deep, vibrating in his bones. Inside the cabin, the baby began to hum too, softly in perfect tune with the sound outside. He ran back inside, confused and afraid. "What are you doing?" he whispered. But the baby didn't stop. Her voice grew stronger, clearer, almost calling to something. Then the lights outside dimmed and vanished. Silence returned. Ethan stood still, his heartbeat loud in the quiet cabin. He picked up the baby and whispered, "You're not safe here, are you?" That night he barely slept. He sat by the window watching the forest, one hand resting on the baby's basket. Around midnight his dog Rusty began to growl. The sound came from deep in its throat, warning, not fear. Ethan grabbed his flashlight and opened the door. The cold night air hit his face. He swept the beam across the trees. Then he froze. Two figures stood at the edge of the clearing, tall and motionless. Their skin glowed faintly in the moonlight, their eyes bright and alien. They weren't wearing suits or helmets, only dark, fitted armor that shimmered as they moved. Ethan's grip tightened on the flashlight. "Who's there?" he called. One of them stepped forward. Her voice was calm, melodic, yet carried a strange echo. "Do not fear us, human. We come for what is ours." Ethan's stomach dropped. "What do you mean, yours?" The second figure spoke, her voice colder. "The child. You have her." He looked down at the baby in his arms. She was awake now, staring at them with those glowing eyes. She didn't cry. She didn't move. It was as if she knew them. Ethan shook his head. "She's just a baby. She needs help." The first figure stepped closer. Her eyes softened. "Her name is Ari. She is not just a baby, she is hope." Before Ethan could reply, a sudden roar filled the sky. A blinding red light cut through the clouds, burning across the treetops. The ground shook as something exploded in the distance. The two women turned sharply, their calm faces suddenly tense. One of them hissed, "They found us." Ethan looked from the smoke rising in the forest to the baby in his arms. "Who found you?" The taller woman met his eyes. "The ones who will kill us all if they find her." Before he could ask anything more, the night erupted with light, drones slicing through the air, scanning beams moving closer. The first alien woman looked at him and said, "Human, if you wish to live, run." Ethan held the baby close and took a single breath. Then he ran into the dark forest, not knowing that his life and the fate of two worlds had just begun to intertwine. The forest was alive with chaos. Drones screeched overhead like mechanical hawks, beams of red light cutting through the trees. The smell of burning leaves filled the air. Ethan ran through the darkness, clutching the glowing baby tight against his chest. Each breath burned, each step heavy, but he didn't stop. Behind him, the ground shook with explosions. The two alien women followed close behind, moving faster than any human could. Their armor shimmered and flickered as energy shields deflected sparks and laser bursts. One of them, the taller one with silver markings on her face, shouted, "Left, go left!" Ethan obeyed without question. They dove into a small ravine hidden by the thick fog. Ethan collapsed against a fallen tree, chest heaving. The baby in his arms was calm, too calm. Her bright eyes followed the red lights moving in the sky, unblinking, almost curious. "What's happening?" Ethan gasped. "Who are you people?" The taller woman turned to him. "My name is Lyra. That is Seren. We are not your enemies, human." Her voice was sharp but steady. "We came for the child you found. Her name is Ari." Ethan shook his head. "You said she's yours. What does that mean?" "She's just a baby." Lyra's gaze softened. "She is more than that. She is the last of her kind, and perhaps the last hope for mine." Serene crouched nearby, scanning the sky with a small glowing device. "They're closing in. We have minutes at best." Ethan looked at the child again, at her strange calmness, the faint hum in the air around her. "What do they want with her?" Seren's eyes met his. "To erase her, and anyone who stands in their way." A low rumble echoed through the forest, the sound of a ship landing nearby. The ground trembled. Ethan's stomach twisted. You're saying they'll kill her? Why? Lyra's expression darkened. Because she carries something they fear. Power born from both our worlds. She is part human, part of us. Ethan stared. Part human? Before she could answer, a beam of red light swept over them. Seren fired a pulse weapon into the air, blasting the drone apart. We must move, she barked. They ran again, deeper into the forest. Branches snapped under their feet, the hum of engines closing behind. Ethan's mind raced. Part human. Could that mean someone from her species had been here before? A clearing appeared ahead, lit by the glow of the baby's pod still strapped to Lyra's back. Suddenly, a massive figure dropped from the sky, a dark hunter drone tall as a tree, its red sensors locking onto them. Seren raised her weapon. I'll hold it off! Lyra grabbed her arm. No. We stay together, too late. The drone fired. A blast of energy struck the ground, sending Ethan flying. He hit the dirt hard but managed to shield the baby with his body. The child didn't cry, she simply stared at the drone, her eyes beginning to glow brighter and brighter. Lyra shouted, Ari, no! But it was too late. A wave of energy burst from the baby's tiny hands, invisible but powerful. The drone froze mid-air, its lights flickering violently, then exploded into 1,000 burning pieces. The forest fell silent again, smoke rising through the trees. Ethan looked down at Ari, trembling. Her glow dimmed and she sighed softly before closing her eyes. Seren whispered, She's awakening. Too soon. Ethan stood, still holding the child, his voice low and shaking. You said they'll kill her if they find her. Then we don't let them. Lyra looked at him, studying his face. You would risk your life for something you don't understand? He met her gaze. She's just a baby. I don't need to understand that. For a brief moment, the alien woman almost smiled. Then perhaps, she said softly, You are the reason she came here. In the distance, another explosion thundered, closer this time. Seren pointed toward the east. There's an old mining tunnel. We can hide there until sunrise. Ethan nodded, gripping Ari close as they disappeared into the mist. Behind them, red light swept across the treetops, searching. The hunt had only begun. The forest was no longer quiet. The air throbbed with distant roars of engines and the electric hum of alien machines combing the land. The night was heavy with smoke and fear. Ethan Cole ran beside Lyra and Seren, his legs aching, lungs burning, but he refused to slow down. The baby, Ari, was wrapped tightly in his coat, glowing faintly against his chest like a living star. Behind them, flashes of red light split the darkness. Every time Ethan thought they had lost the hunters, another drone appeared, scanning the ground with deadly precision. Seren tapped her wristband, and a curved field of light shimmered around them for a few seconds, bending the beams away. The cloak won't hold much longer, she said sharply. Lyra turned to Ethan. Your world was never meant to see ours. Now because of her, the lines between us are breaking. Ethan didn't understand, but he knew one thing. These aliens were terrified, not evil. They weren't invaders. They were running. They reached a clearing where the moonlight broke through the fog. In the center stood the remains of an old mining facility, half buried in vines and dust. We can rest inside, Lyra said. They slipped through a rusted doorway into darkness. The air inside was cold and metallic. Ethan found an old lantern and flicked it on. The soft light revealed ancient machinery and a tunnel that seemed to stretch endlessly into the earth. Lyra placed the baby down carefully. Ari's eyes fluttered open, glowing gently as she hummed a strange, soothing tone. The sound made the walls vibrate, dust falling from the ceiling. Seren looked uneasy. She's learning to control it. Ethan frowned. Control what? Lyra's gaze met his. Energy. The same energy that powers stars. She is more than flesh, she's a living conduit. And when she cries, worlds shake. Ethan looked down at the baby, who smiled back at him. You mean she's dangerous? Only if frightened, Lyra said. And right now, everyone out there wants to make her afraid. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the tunnels. The light flickered. Seren raised her weapon, her face pale. They've found us. The sound grew louder, metal scraping against stone like claws dragging along the walls. Ethan backed up, holding Ari tightly. From the shadows of the tunnel, a red beam pierced the darkness. Lyra jumped forward, her arm glowing as she projected a shimmering blue shield. The beam struck, scattering sparks across the floor. "Go!" she shouted. Ethan ran down a side passage, his boots echoing on the stone floor. Behind him, the battle raged. Blasts of light, alien cries, the hiss of energy weapons. He turned a corner and stopped, gasping for breath. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber where old mining equipment rusted in silence. He set Ari down for a moment and looked around for something, anything, to help. That's when he noticed it. The walls were covered in strange markings, patterns glowing faintly, almost identical to the ones on Ari's pod. He reached out and touched one, and suddenly the entire chamber came alive. Blue light rippled across the stone, forming floating symbols in the air. Lyra and Seren burst in behind him, weapons ready. When they saw the symbols, both froze. "This isn't human," Seren whispered. "This is ancient." Lyra's eyes widened. "No, it's ours." Ethan stepped back. "You mean this place wasn't built by your kind?" Lyra finished. "It was a sanctuary, a place where our ancestors once came. We thought it was lost." Ari reached out toward the glowing wall, her tiny fingers brushing the light. The markings pulsed brighter, and for an instant a holographic map appeared. Stars, planets, wormholes, all orbiting one point. Earth. Seren stared at the projection. "They called this world Sanctuary 12, Ethan whispered. "You're saying you've been here before?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Long ago, before humans could even speak. This world was meant to be safe, but they found us again." Before Ethan could ask who they were, the floor shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A deafening roar came from above, the sound of massive engines descending. Seren looked up at the shaking ceiling. "They brought a warship." Lyra grabbed the baby, handing her back to Ethan. "Listen to me, human. If we fall, you run. Keep her alive no matter what happens." Ethan shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." Lyra's eyes glowed softly. "You may not have a choice." Outside, the forest erupted in fire as the warship broke through the clouds. Its red searchlights cut across the sky like blades. Ethan held the child close, heart pounding. The baby opened her eyes again, brighter this time, almost white, and whispered her first word in a soft, alien voice, "Mama." The lights above flickered, and every drone in the forest suddenly fell from the sky. The silence that followed was the kind that comes before something much worse. The earth trembled as the warship hovered above the forest, its engines growling like a living beast. The night sky was split by its red lights, sweeping across the treetops. Inside the old mining chamber, Ethan, Lyra, and Seren stood frozen in the blue glow of the ancient symbols. The air hummed, thick with energy. Ari sat quietly in Ethan's arms, her eyes glowing faintly. The moment she had spoken, "Mama," something in the air had shifted. The walls had awakened, lights forming patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. "What is this place?" Ethan whispered. Lyra's gaze was fixed on the glowing runes. "It's a memory chamber, a bridge between what was and what will be." Seren knelt beside the wall, scanning the patterns with her wrist device. Her face turned pale. "These markings, they're from the royal archives. This place was hidden by the queen herself." Ethan frowned. "You mean Ari's mother?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, the Queen of Vera, the one who tried to end the war. She wanted peace with other species, even yours." Her voice softened. She believed life could be shared beyond the stars. Ethan looked down at the child, at the soft glow under her skin. "Then what happened to her?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "Betrayal." Seren stood, her jaw clenched. "The High Council called her dream dangerous. They feared what a union between human and Varen could mean. The Queen was murdered before she could reveal Ares' existence." Ethan's chest tightened. "You're saying she had a child with a human?" Lyra looked at him. "Yes, Ari's father was from your world." For a moment, the entire world seemed to stop. The fire crackled in the distance, and Ethan's breath came shallow. "That's not possible," he whispered. Lyra shook her head. "Your world has been visited before, Ethan. Long before now. The Queen came here in secret, searching for a man she met through the stars. Love made her blind to the danger, and that love created her." Ethan stared at the baby, his thoughts racing. "Then why send her here? Why put her in that pod?" Seren answered. "Because Earth was her mother's last hope. The Queen knew the Council would destroy the child. So she opened a rift and sent Ari here, to the only world untouched by their war." Outside, thunder rolled again. The warship's lights flickered through the cracks of the tunnel ceiling. Lyra touched the wall again and suddenly a beam of light shot out, forming a hologram in the air, a woman tall and radiant, with the same glowing eyes as Ari. Her voice filled the chamber, soft and melodic. "If you see this message," the figure said, "then my daughter lives. She is the key to peace between our worlds. Protect her. For when she awakens, the stars will burn or heal by her will." Ethan couldn't move. The hologram faded, leaving the room cold again. Lyra bowed her head. That was the Queen, her final message. Seren turned sharply as her wrist device beeped. "They're inside the forest perimeter. We're out of time." Ethan looked at them both. "Then what do we do?" Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "We fight, or she dies." The baby stirred again, sensing the tension. Her eyes flickered white for a second, and every light in the room responded, glowing brighter. The walls began to shake, the symbols pulsing faster. Ethan held her tighter. "She's reacting." Seren took a step back. "No, she's remembering." The air grew heavy with power. Small stones lifted off the ground, floating in the light. The baby looked around, and the hum grew louder until it felt like the air itself was alive. Lyra shouted over the noise. "She's connecting to the network, the old energy field." Ethan's voice cracked. "Will it hurt her?" Lyra shook her head. "No, but it will draw them here." As if on cue, a deep explosion rocked the earth. Dust rained down from above. The entire mine shuddered. Seren looked toward the tunnel. "They've breached the entrance." Lyra's eyes blazed. "Then we hold the line." Ethan stepped forward, jaw tight. "I'll help you." Seren stared at him in disbelief. "You're human. You can't fight them." He glanced at the baby in his arms. "Watch me." Ari's tiny hand reached up, glowing brighter than ever, touching Ethan's cheek. For an instant he felt something. Strength, clarity, connection. The markings on the walls shifted again, forming a new pattern, a symbol none of them had seen before. Lyra gasped. The child of two worlds is chosen. Outside, the warship's engines roared, and the ground cracked. Ethan looked at the baby and whispered, "Then let's show them what that means." The chamber blazed with blue light, marking the beginning of the war for the child who could change the fate of two worlds. The night sky above the forest burned red. The warship had descended lower now, its engines shaking the earth as soldiers in dark armor poured out like shadows. The air shimmered with heat and static. Deep inside the ancient mine, Ethan stood beside Lyra and Seren, the baby in his arms glowing like a small sun. The hum of the chamber had changed. The walls no longer whispered, they sang. Blue light flowed across the runes, filling the tunnels with living energy. Ethan could feel it through his skin. It was as if the mountain itself was waking up. Seren pressed her hand to the wall and looked at Lyra. "They're coming. A full strike team. If we don't seal the tunnel, they'll reach us in minutes." Lyra's eyes were sharp. "We don't seal it. We end it." Ethan frowned. "End it? You can't fight them alone." Lyra turned to him, her face calm but fierce. "I have fought them my entire life. This is not new." "But you—" She paused, looking at the child in his arms. "You are her link. She listens to you. When the time comes, you'll need to help her control it." Ethan's throat tightened. "Control what?" "The power that sleeps inside her," Lyra said softly. "The power that once moved stars." Before Ethan could respond, the ground shook violently. Rocks rained from above, dust filling the air. The sound of metal echoed down the tunnel, heavy steps getting closer. Seren raised her weapon. "Positions." Ethan ducked behind a pillar, clutching Ari tightly. Lyra and Seren took cover behind the old mining carts, their weapons humming with alien light. The first soldier appeared, tall, armored in black metal, eyes burning red. Behind him came more, 5, then 10, their boots crushing stone. Seren fired first. A burst of blue energy ripped through the dark, sending 2 soldiers flying back. Lyra followed with a shockwave blast that cracked the walls. The tunnel became chaos, light, sound, and thunder. Ethan watched in awe. The alien women fought like lightning, fluid, precise, unstoppable. But for every enemy they struck down, more came. He turned to the baby. "Ari, please," he whispered. "We need you." The baby's eyes flickered open, glowing brighter than ever. The hum returned, low at first, then rising like a storm. A wave of energy burst from her tiny body, sweeping through the chamber. The attacking soldiers froze mid-step. Their weapons short-circuited, their armor flickered. The entire mine trembled, Lyra shouted, "She's doing it! She's connecting to the source." But Ethan could see her trembling. The glow around Ari grew unstable, crackling like fire. He could feel her fear. He held her close. "It's okay. You're safe. I'm here." The moment he spoke, her shaking slowed. The wild energy around them softened, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Lyra looked stunned. She's sinking with him. Impossible. Then a voice echoed from above, a deep metallic growl. "Hand over the child or your world burns with her." Ethan looked up. A massive figure descended from the broken ceiling, a commander in black armor twice the size of a man. His red eyes locked on Ari. "She does not belong here." Lyra stepped forward, her weapon raised. "Neither do you." The commander raised his arm, unleashing a blast of dark energy. The beam hit Lyra's shield, shattering it like glass. She fell to her knees, blood on her lip. Ethan's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no armor, but he had something else. He placed Ari gently on the ground. "Listen to me," he whispered. "You don't have to be afraid." The baby looked up at him, eyes wide and white with light. The commander took a step forward, raising his blade, and the world exploded in blue. Ari screamed, but it wasn't fear. It was power. Light burst from her hands, flooding the chamber. The soldiers disintegrated. The commander's armor melted away as his scream vanished into the light. When it was over, silence. Dust fell slowly like snow. The walls glowed with faint energy, and the warship's lights above flickered, then went dark. Ethan fell to his knees, holding the baby close again. She looked tired now, her glow fading to a gentle shimmer. Lyra limped toward them, eyes full of awe. "She saved us all." Saren scanned the readings on her device. "The ship's power core is down. They'll retreat for now." Ethan looked at the child in his arms, small and peaceful again. "She didn't just save us," he said quietly. "She chose us." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "And now they'll come for her with everything they have." Ethan met her gaze. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Outside, the forest burned under the fading red sky, but deep inside the mountain, a new light had been born, one that even war couldn't extinguish. The smoke of battle still hung heavy in the air. The once quiet forest was now a graveyard of fire and fallen metal. Drones lay scattered across the ground, their red eyes dimmed forever. The great warship above the trees had gone silent, its engines crippled by the pulse Ari had unleashed. Ethan Cole stood in the clearing, his face streaked with ash and exhaustion. The small alien child slept in his arms, her light faint but steady. Every beat of her heart seemed to hum through the air, alive with power that no human could fully understand. Lyra and Saren moved among the wreckage, searching for survivors, scanning the skies for the next threat. The silence didn't feel like peace, it felt like the breath before another storm. "She drained herself," Lyra said softly, looking at the child. "That kind of energy should have destroyed her." Ethan's grip tightened. "But it didn't. She's stronger than any of us thought." Serene's eyes flicked upward. The clouds were parting, revealing a faint shimmer in the sky, a massive shadow breaking through the upper atmosphere. "They're coming," she said grimly. "The High Council. They won't stop now." Ethan's heart sank. "You mean there are more of them?" Lyra nodded. "The Council fears what she represents. If they can't capture her, they'll erase this entire planet." The ground trembled again, not from engines this time, but from something deeper. A low, ancient vibration echoing through the mine tunnels below them. The glowing runes carved into the mountain flared once more, spreading outward in streams of light. Lyra's eyes widened. The sanctuary is responding to her. It's awakening. The air shimmered, and suddenly the blue light from the ground rose upward, forming a massive beam that pierced the sky like a signal. The clouds split apart, and the shadow of the Council's mothership appeared, vast enough to block the stars. Ethan took a step back, shielding the child. "They'll see us," Lyra shook her head. "They already do." The ship's voice boomed from above, metallic and cold. "Return the hybrid. Humanity will not be harmed if you surrender the child." Ethan looked up at the ship, rage flaring in his chest. "You want her because you're afraid. You kill what you don't understand." There was no reply, only the growing whine of energy charging from the ship's main cannon. Serene grabbed Ethan's arm. "We can't stop that blast. We have to run." But Ethan didn't move. He looked down at the sleeping baby, Ari, and whispered, "You said she's the bridge between worlds. Then maybe she can end this." He placed her gently on the ground, the beam of light wrapping around her small form like a cocoon. Her eyes fluttered open. For the first time, she didn't look like a child. In her gaze was something ancient, wise, eternal. Lyra took a step forward, awe in her voice. She's remembering who she is. Ari raised her hand toward the sky. The beam widened, glowing brighter and brighter until it turned the night into day. The warship's cannon fired, but the energy dissolved into the light, breaking apart like mist in sunlight. A calm, echoing voice filled the clearing. It was Ari's voice, but older, deeper, carrying the strength of two worlds. No more war. No more fear. The massive ship above trembled. Its hull cracked, metal twisting as if reality itself bent around her words. Then slowly the ship began to rise, pulled upward, away from Earth, vanishing into the stars. When the light faded, the beam dissolved into glittering dust that rained softly over the forest. The fires went out. The air grew still again. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her. Ari, it's over. The child looked up at him, her glow dimming to a warm golden hue. Home, she whispered faintly. Lyra smiled through her tears.